Tensions are boiling over in Huntsville, and this time, it's messier than ever. Just when fans thought Season 7 of Love and Marriage, Huntsville couldn't get any wilder, Ken and LaTricia have dropped a bombshell that sent shockwaves through the entire cast. That's right, there's drama. And it's got Marques at the center of a scandal so twisted, even Maurice and Kimmi were left speechless. What started as a casual sit-down quickly turned into a firestorm of accusations, secrets, and tears that no one saw coming. Word on the street is that Ken and LaTricia are done playing nice. After months of biting their tongues and keeping the peace, they're ready to air it all out. And baby, they brought receipts. With cameras rolling and tensions rising, the two confronted Maurice and Kimmi in a moment that left everyone stunned. Fans are shocked, social media is in meltdown mode, and even production allegedly had to step in to keep things from exploding. What did Marques do that triggered this public takedown? Why are Ken and LaTricia so furious now, and what secret has been boiling under the surface for months? As the rest of the cast tries to pick sides, friendships are shattered, alliances are tested, and the entire future of the group hangs in the balance. There's betrayal, there's manipulation, and honey, there are hidden truths that could tear this family apart forever. You won't believe the bombshells that came out during that sit-down with Maurice and Kimmi. From cryptic texts to late-night sightings, the story that unfolds is juicier than anything this show has seen before. And just when you think the drama has peaked, bam, another shocking twist changes everything. So grab your popcorn and buckle up, because what you're about to hear will have you yelling at the screen and texting your bestie in all caps. This is not just another day in Huntsville. This is the scandal that might just redefine everything you thought you knew about love and marriage. Huntsville. And trust us, no one is walking away from this clean. It all started at an intimate backyard brunch hosted by Kimmi and Maurice, a quiet gathering meant to celebrate peace after a long string of chaos in Huntsville. The sun was shining, the table was set with mimosas and finger foods, and laughter floated through the air like nothing could go wrong. But the moment Ken and LaTricia walked through the garden gate, that soft breeze turned into a storm front. From the look on LaTricia's face, anyone paying attention could feel that something heavy was brewing, and baby, it wasn't just the Alabama heat. Ken kept his arm around her, but his jaw was clenched. And when Kimmi greeted them with her usual warmth, LaTricia's smile didn't even reach her eyes. The small talk lasted all of 5 minutes before things started to go left. Ken set down his drink, leaned forward, and said the words that would shatter the calm like glass. "We need to talk about Marques." That name, Marques, hung in the air like poison. Maurice's brows furrowed instantly, and Kimmi's eyes darted between the couple. "What about him?" Maurice asked, guarded. That's when LaTricia's voice broke the tension wide open. "What hasn't he done?" she snapped, the tremble in her tone betraying months of bottled rage. Maurice leaned back cautiously, while Kimmi, ever the peacemaker, tried to keep things cool. "Let's just take a breath," she offered, her hand lightly brushing LaTricia's. But LaTricia wasn't having it. "You've all been protecting him," she continued, her voice rising, "pretending like we don't see what's going on, like we didn't notice the distance, the lies, the photos." The table froze. Ken reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone, tapping rapidly, before placing it on the table in front of Maurice. The screen lit up with what appeared to be screenshots, messages, locations, timestamps. "We've been watching. Marques hasn't just been busy, he's been sneaky. And he's been dragging your names through the mud behind your backs." Maurice's expression darkened. "What is this?" he demanded. Ken just gave a bitter laugh. "Receipts," he said, "and trust me, there's more where that came from." Kimmi leaned in, squinting at the phone. "Wait, is this from last week? He told us he was in Atlanta for work." LaTricia nodded sharply. "Atlanta? Try Birmingham. With someone who is not his wife." The gasp that escaped Kimmi's lips said everything. "No, he wouldn't. Marques wouldn't do that, wouldn't he?" Ken shot back. "You think just because he's been quiet lately, he's innocent? We didn't want to do this like this, but y'all left us no choice." Maurice sat in silence, staring down at the phone. "I knew something was off," he muttered finally, "but I didn't think." LaTricia cut him off. "Well, now you know. He's been throwing shade, stirring the pot behind the scenes, trying to pit people against each other. And when that didn't work, he started rumors, nasty ones. Kimmi was visibly shaken, her hand to her mouth. What kind of rumors? LaTricia's jaw tightened. That Maurice has been covering for him. That Kimmi knew all along and played dumb. That Ken and I were the ones causing division in the group, not him. Maurice's face turned red. Wait. What? He told people I was covering for him? Ken nodded. Told fans online, told bloggers. He even had the audacity to tell Martel that you were keeping him safe while he handled his extracurriculars. Kimmi slammed her napkin down. Now that is low. Oh. But it gets lower, LaTricia added. Because not only has he been lying to all of you, he's been trying to push us out. Quietly, but strategically. Events were not invited to. Group texts were mysteriously removed from. He's been running his own little operation. Dividing the family for what? Ego? Ken looked at Maurice. And you never saw it? Maurice exhaled slowly. I saw pieces, but Marques is my brother, man. I didn't want to believe he'd go that far. LaTricia leaned in. Well, it's time you do, because this isn't about gossip anymore. It's about damage. And we're done sitting quiet while he plays the victim. The backyard was dead silent now. Even the cicadas seemed to pause. Kimmi's voice was barely above a whisper. Does Mel know? LaTricia laughed. She will, and she's not gonna like it. Kimmi and Maurice exchanged a look that spoke volumes. Things were about to get very complicated. Maurice finally broke the silence. I need to talk to him. Face to face. Do more than talk, Ken snapped. Hold him accountable. You all want unity in this group? Then stop letting snakes sit at the table. Kimmi reached for her glass with trembling hands. If what you're saying is true, this could blow up everything. Maybe it needs to, LaTricia said coldly. Because pretending everything is fine? That's what let this grow in the dark. The mood had shifted completely. No one touched their drinks. No one ate another bite. Maurice stood slowly, his face unreadable. I'll call him. Today. Don't warn him, Ken said quickly. Don't give him a chance to spin it. Let him walk into the truth like the rest of us had to. Kimmi, ever the diplomat, tried to smooth it over. Maybe there's another explanation. Maybe we don't have all the pieces yet. LaTricia just looked at her with tired eyes. We have enough. Enough to know who he's become. And it's not someone we can trust. Suddenly, the sound of a car engine caught their attention. Heads turned toward the front gate. LaTricia stood up. That's him, isn't it? Kimmi's eyes widened. He said he might swing by. Maurice's voice was low, almost dangerous. Good, let him come. Ken checked his watch. This is it then. And just like that, the calm brunch turned into a confrontation zone. The storm had finally arrived and nobody was ready for what Marques had to say when he stepped out of that car. Marques stepped out of the black SUV like he had no idea the walls were already crumbling around him. He looked calm to calm. A fresh haircut, designer shades, phone in hand. As he strolled up the stone path toward the patio, he waved casually, flashing that easy grin he always wore. But Ken, still standing, didn't return the gesture. Neither did LaTricia. And when Marques finally looked up and saw their faces, that smile faltered for the first time. What's going on? He asked, stopping short just a few feet from the table. Kimmi stood, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Marques, we need to talk. His eyes narrowed slightly. Okay, talk about what? Ken stepped forward. Why don't you tell? Group chats exploded. Word had gotten out. Fans began flooding Twitter and Instagram with speculation, screenshots, and side-eye emojis. LAMH's unraveling trended by midnight. And at the center of it all was Marques, exposed, isolated, and quickly becoming the franchise's most controversial figure. Back at Melody's, the plotting had begun. We need to confront him, she declared. All of us. On camera. No hiding. No editing tricks. LaTricia raised an eyebrow. You sure you're ready for that kind of war? Melody smiled, but there was no humor in it. I've been in worse battles. And this time, I'm coming with allies. The next day, production got the call. An emergency group meeting was requested. A full cast dinner. No cameras off. No topics off limits. The email subject line said it all. Clarity and consequences. And while some saw it as a chance for closure, others knew it would only deepen the divide. Behind the scenes, producers scrambled. This was ratings gold. But even they couldn't predict how explosive it would become, especially when an unexpected player decided to show up with new receipts that threatened to flip the entire narrative again. Because what Marques wasn't counting on, what none of them were expecting, was that someone else had been watching, and their silence was finally about to break. It was the night of the dinner. The dinner intentions in Huntsville were tighter than ever. Word had spread fast. Even fans who weren't typically tuned in had their eyes locked on the cast stories, waiting to see who would show up, who would break down, and who would go off. The restaurant was closed off for privacy, but not even thick walls could muffle the weight of what was about to unfold. One by one, the cast arrived. Melody, fierce and composed in a sleek black jumpsuit, walked in first, clutching her phone like a weapon. Ken and LaTricia came next, dressed in coordinated deep burgundy, unapologetic, unbothered, and unrelenting. Kimmi and Maurice arrived a little later, hands clasped, trying to present a united front even though their foundation had been rattled just 24 hours earlier. The room buzzed with a strange cocktail of anticipation, betrayal, and fury. But no one knew if Marques would even show his face. That is, until the door opened one final time, and there he was. Marques entered quietly, without his usual swagger. No designer sunglasses, no flash. Just a plain gray jacket and the look of a man who knew he'd be walking into enemy territory. Eyes immediately followed him as he took his seat, wordlessly, at the far end of the table. So, Melody began, cutting through the silence. "I think we can all agree this isn't just another dinner." "Not even close," Ken muttered. "Let's not dance around it," Melody said, locking eyes with Marques. "You said things. You did things. And now you need to answer for them." Marques didn't flinch. "I'm not denying anything. I made mistakes. I own them. Do you?" Kimmi asked quietly. "Because you didn't look like you were owning them yesterday." "I was overwhelmed," he said. "Everything hit me at once." LaTricia shook her head. "Everything hit you? Baby, it hit us first. You detonated the bomb, then acted surprised when the pieces cut you too." Before Marques could respond, a new voice sliced into the conversation, unexpected, calm, but commanding. It was Tiffany. Yes, Tiffany. She had been quietly observing from the side, invited last minute by production, but until now, no one knew she was even going to show up. "I think there's something y'all need to see," she said, standing up and pulling out her own phone. "Because while everyone was pointing fingers, I was connecting dots. And it's messier than any of you think." Everyone leaned in. "About a month ago, Marques tried to link with me. DM'd me something wild. Said he wanted to clear the air privately. But then he asked me to keep it from the group." Kimmy's mouth fell open. "What?" Tiffany nodded. "I didn't respond. Thought it was shady. But I screenshotted it." She tapped her screen and passed the phone down. When Melody saw it, her whole face changed. "He tried to flip Tiffany too?" she whispered. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Marques stayed silent. The phone made its way down the table, and with every set of eyes that scanned the messages, another layer of trust peeled away. Maurice looked ill. "You weren't trying to fix anything," he said quietly. "You were trying to build a secret alliance." "I didn't want to lose control," Marques admitted. "Everyone was growing, evolving. I felt stuck, invisible. So you tried to destroy the ones shining the brightest?" LaTricia said, her voice laced with venom. "That's not growth. That's cowardice." Ken leaned forward. "You tried to isolate us, Marques. Create confusion. Even now, you're sitting here like you deserve applause for showing up. Nah, you don't get a trophy for basic accountability." Melody looked directly at him. "You said I was too emotional to lead, that I let my past cloud my business moves. How do you explain that?" "I was bitter," Marques whispered. "I wanted your spotlight. You made it look easy. It's never been easy." Melody snapped. "I bled for every opportunity. And instead of learning from that, you tried to discredit me. You tried to erase me." For a brief moment, it looked like Marques might cry, but the sympathy well had already run dry. Then, in the final brutal twist of the evening, Destiny, who had been silent all this time, watching with her arms folded, leaned forward. "I know about Camille," she said. The room turned. "I know who she is. And guess what? She reached out to me. Said she didn't even know Marques was married when they first met. Said he told her the marriage was complicated and that y'all were separated." Kimmi gasped, hand covering her mouth. Oh my god. Destiny continued. She sent me voice notes, y'all. Real messy stuff. I wasn't gonna say anything. But after tonight? Yeah. It needs to be out there. Play them. Melody demanded. Destiny pulled up her phone and hit play. Mark's voice came through, laughing, flirting, casually dodging questions about his wife. Camille's voice followed, soft and naive, asking, "So, are you really done with her?" Mark's recorded answer, "Let's just say I'm already gone." The silence after that clip was louder than any scream. Kimmi was trembling. Maurice looked like he might leap across the table. Ken and LaTricia exchanged a look that said, "We were right all along." Marques buried his face in his hands. "I messed up," he whispered. "No," Kimmi said, voice shaking. "You wrecked us." Melody stood. "You know what? I'm done here. Let the fans decide what comes next. But I'm not filming another scene with this man until he owns it publicly. And I mean camera on. No edits. No PR spin." Ken stood too. "Same. You're not gonna use us as stepping stones on your redemption tour." As the others rose, one by one, leaving Marques alone at the table, he looked around desperate, shattered, utterly alone. The dinner had started as an intervention. It ended as an exorcism. And for the first time in a long time, the cast was united. But not with him. Not anymore. By the time the last car pulled out of the parking lot that night, the streets of Huntsville were buzzing louder than the restaurant had been. Social media had caught wind of the dinner within minutes. Cell phone footage leaked by an anonymous crew member showed Melody storming out, Ken and LaTricia following with sharp words and tight expressions, and Marques sitting motionless at the long candlelit table, staring into nothing. The hashtags were already trending. Hashtag LAMH Showdown. Hashtag Marques Exposed. Hashtag Team Kimmi. And the ever-growing hashtag LaTricia Spoke Truth. Fans flooded comment sections with everything from wild theories to genuine heartbreak. People felt betrayed not just by Marques, but by the illusion that he had maintained for seasons. But while fans were still catching their breath, the cast was already planning their next move. The following morning, Melody went live on Instagram. No filter, no glam, just a raw face and a clear voice. "Let's talk," she said to over 50,000 live viewers. "Y'all saw the drama. Y'all heard the audio. So let me tell you what wasn't aired yet." She broke down the manipulation, the private messages, the quiet smear campaign Marques had been running like a low-budget political strategist. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just told the truth. "I've carried this show on my back. I've taken hits in public, in private, and kept showing up. But I will not keep quiet while someone tries to rewrite history and paint me as the villain in his downfall." At the same time, Ken and LaTricia were meeting with producers behind closed doors. They wanted a spin-off segment, a raw, unscripted sit-down, just the two of them, explaining everything. Not to add fuel to the fire, but to clear the smoke Marques had left behind. "Let us be the voice of the silence he created," Ken said. "Let us show people how we really got here." Producers, realizing the goldmine of transparency and redemption, agreed. Cameras rolled that evening. Ken spoke about friendship, loyalty, the way Marques would pull him aside at events and whisper insecurities masked as insider talk. LaTricia cried not out of sadness, but from the rage of watching someone she once called family try to erase her and her husband from their own journey. "I used to pray for Marques," she said, voice trembling. "I wanted to believe he was just struggling, that he was scared. But baby, scared people don't plot like this. Scared people ask for help. They don't hand you a knife and beg for hugs." Her words hit viewers like lightning. Clips were already being shared before the episode even wrapped. And then came the unexpected twist that made season 7 unforgettable. Marques vanished. 3 days after the dinner, he ghosted production. No texts, no calls, no location pings. He stopped answering Maurice, ignored Kimmi. Even Camille, the woman at the center of his side scandal, said he hadn't replied to her messages. He was gone. Fans began speculating. Had he left town? Was he in some kind of crisis? Or was this just another manipulation tactic to dodge accountability? Kimmi, emotionally exhausted but still holding her head high, issued a statement through her Instagram story. "This isn't about gossip anymore. It's about healing. And healing doesn't wait on people who keep reopening the wounds. Maurice, quieter, more private, unfollowed Marques on all platforms. That said more than any tweet ever could. Then finally, after nearly a week of silence, Marques resurfaced on his terms. A heavily edited video dropped on his YouTube channel. Black and white filter, dramatic piano music. He sat on a leather chair, wearing all black, looking directly into the lens. "I want to apologize," he began. "To my family, to my friends, to the fans." He admitted to missteps, to emotional immaturity, and feeling left behind. But what he didn't do, what everyone noticed, was directly name LaTricia, Ken, Kimmi, or Melody. No names, no ownership, just blanket regret and vague promises to do better. The backlash was instant. "Boy, if you don't say LaTricia's name," one top comment read, liked over 17,000 times. "You got 20 minutes of you whispering to sad piano like we forgot the chaos," said another. Even fellow reality stars started subtweeting. One influencer wrote, "A true apology names names, not moods." Melody clapped back on Twitter the same day, "Don't center yourself in an apology for pain you caused. We don't need your tears. We need your truth." Meanwhile, fans were already rallying behind LaTricia, calling her the heart of the season. Her following doubled. She began hosting weekly Tea and Truth IG lives, where she recapped moments from the show and shared reflections on loyalty, betrayal, and forgiveness. Her voice became the soundtrack of redemption. And quietly, behind the scenes, production met with own execs. The idea, a special reunion live, unfiltered, unedited, all cast members, one couch, one conversation, no script. The question, would Marques show up? And if he did, would anyone be willing to sit next to him? Because in the world of love and marriage, Huntsville, apologies are currency, but accountability is the only thing that really pays the bill. The reunion night had arrived. Weeks of emotional fallout, fan theories, social media firestorms, and behind-the-scenes damage control had led to this moment. It wasn't just a reunion, it was the most anticipated sit-down in love and marriage Huntsville history. The production team flew in extra security. OWN pushed it to prime time. The network ran back-to-back reruns all day, hyping the cast confrontation. That was promised to change the fabric of the franchise forever. Huntsville had never been quieter because everyone was watching. The stage was elegant but tense. A long velvet couch for the core cast. Chairs spaced just far enough to keep things civil but close enough to ensure no emotion went unnoticed. Cameras circled like vultures, waiting to capture every smirk, eye roll, and awkward silence. The host, Charlie V, known for handling celebrity drama with a velvet glove over a steel fist, stood center stage. Tonight, she began, "We go beyond the headlines, beyond the hashtags. The cast of Love and Marriage. Huntsville is here to speak their truth and confront the man whose actions sent shockwaves through their lives." First to walk out were Kimmi and Maurice, hand in hand, though their faces held different energies. Hers, calm and focused, his simmering with restrained frustration. Then came Ken and LaTricia, side by side, faces like stone. The crowd erupted in applause. LaTricia offered a slight nod to the audience, but her eyes remained on the empty chair at the far end. Melody arrived next, solo, in an all-white suit, like she'd come to collect souls, not just confront one. Destiny and Tiffany followed, quiet but alert. Then Charlie said the words everyone was waiting for. "And now, Marques." A moment of silence. Then, slowly, Marques emerged from backstage. No music, no smile. Dressed in muted gray again, like the man who had sat in shame at that candlelit dinner weeks ago. But this time, he didn't sit down right away. He stood behind the chair, looked at everyone, then finally spoke. "Before we start," he said quietly, "I want to say something." The crowd fell dead silent. Even the cast members looked surprised. "I know I hurt people," Marques began. "I know my actions caused real damage, and I don't expect forgiveness. But I do want to take full responsibility, starting with calling out the names I've avoided." He turned to Ken and LaTricia. "You two were nothing but supportive. I repaid you with disrespect, lies, and sabotage. I was jealous. I let my own fears poison our friendship. LaTricia folded her arms but said nothing. Ken's jaw flexed. To Kimmi and Maurice, your family, you trusted me. I broke that trust by using your names in ways that were manipulative and dishonest. Maurice, I dragged your integrity into my mess. And Kimmi, I undermined your strength while smiling in your face. That was low, and I'm sorry. Kimmi looked away, blinking hard. Maurice's arm tensed behind her. Then, finally, he looked at Melody. The entire room held its breath. Melody, you were the first to see through me, and instead of listening, I turned others against you. I tried to diminish your leadership, your business, your voice. Not because you were wrong, but because you were right. And I couldn't handle that. I see it now, and I'm sorry. Silence. LaTricia finally broke it. Do you know why this hurts the most? She asked, voice trembling. Because we loved you, Marques. You were family, and you weaponized our loyalty. You tried to erase us from a table we helped build. Ken added, and you didn't just lie, you divided. You made people choose. That's unforgivable. Charlie gently stepped in. Do you believe Marques is sincere now? Melody answered first. Sincerity doesn't erase consequences. It's a start. But sincerity without changed behavior? That's just manipulation with a new haircut. Ouch! Maurice, who had been silent all this time, finally spoke. I want to forgive you, Marques, but I'm not there yet. I can't keep defending people who use my silence as a shield for their mess. Kimmi added, you don't get to choose healing on your timeline. You created a wound in this group. Now we're the ones left to deal with the scar. Tiffany and Destiny nodded in agreement. Even the audience was visibly emotional. But then came the final twist. Charlie turned to Marques and asked, have you been in contact with Camille? Marques paused. Yes, she reached out after the video dropped. She said she didn't know I was married. She apologized. And Charlie pressed. I told her the truth, that I lied, that I used her as an escape. It was never love, it was cowardice. I've ended all contact. I'm getting help. A tense silence followed. Then Charlie leaned forward, looking at each cast member. So where does the group go? From here? LaTricia inhaled. We rebuild, but not with him in the center. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Melody nodded. We've seen what silence costs. From here on, it's truth or nothing. Ken added, no more pretending. No more protecting toxic behavior because it's convenient. Charlie closed the reunion with one final line. In Huntsville, love and marriage are never simple. But tonight, we saw what happens when accountability meets consequence. And the question now is, can healing really begin? As the camera pulled back, the cast remained seated together, yet distant. Marques finally took his seat, but the space around him was colder than it had ever been. Redemption? Maybe. But restoration? That would take more than one reunion. This wasn't the end of the story. It was the start of a new chapter. One where the masks had been ripped off, the lies laid bare, and the players left to rebuild the ruins they created. And just like that, the most explosive chapter in love and marriage, Huntsville history came to a close, but not without leaving scars, shattered bonds, and unanswered questions behind. Marques may have finally spoken his truth, but the damage was already done. The friendships he fractured, the alliances he tried to sabotage, the lies he wrapped in vulnerability, they all left deep cracks in a once tightly woven cast. Kimmi's heartbreak, Maurice's silence, Ken and LaTricia's rage, Melody's icy final words. These weren't just dramatic moments, they were real consequences of betrayal that unfolded in real time before our eyes. Fans across the country are still reeling. Some say Marques deserves a second chance. Others say redemption without exile is just rehearsal for the next manipulation. And then there's Camille, the woman behind the curtain who still hasn't spoken publicly. Will she drop her own receipts? Will Marques fade quietly into the background? Or will Season 8 begin with him fighting to reclaim a seat at a table where no one wants him anymore? One thing's for sure. LAMH has changed forever. Trust has been broken. Lines have been drawn. And while apologies were given, not all were accepted. The cast may have walked away from that reunion under the same roof, but they're no longer on the same page. So now, it's your turn. What do you think, fam? Was Marques sincere or just strategic? Should the cast forgive him? Should Own give him another season? Or send him packing for good? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because this story is still unfolding, and you are part of the conversation. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single twist in the drama coming next season. Because in Huntsville, the tea never sleeps, and neither should you.